Supreme Court impeachment plan released by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Rep. AOC announced plans to introduce articles of impeachment against U.S. Supreme Court justices on Monday, after the court ruled that presidents have immunity for official actions. The court on Monday ruled that former presidents have absolute immunity for official acts, but none for private acts. Okay, slow down there, Newsweek. Absolute immunity only applies to constitutional duties. Official acts have the presumption of immunity, meaning there's overlap. They may not in some circumstances. And unofficial acts enjoy no immunity. Now, Ocasio-Cortez, a Democrat from New York, wrote early Monday afternoon that she would introduce articles of impeachment against the court in a post on X. The Supreme Court has become consumed by a corruption crisis beyond its control. Today's ruling represents an assault on American democracy. It is up to Congress to defend our nation from this authoritarian capture. I intend on filing articles of impeachment upon our return.
I feel like she didn't read the ruling.
Of course not. It's just buzzwords she got from MSNBC.
I feel like she is part of the party that always says, Donald Trump, won't you accept the results of the elections with no question and not conduct any investigations? Like, so are you saying we are or not allowed to question?
I have a question for them on that. Do you accept the results of the Democrat primary? Did the Democrats accept the results of their own primary? Because I seem to remember Joe Biden winning the Democrat primary, and I don't see anyone asking the question as to whether or not they will continue to accept the results of their own primary. I think every single one.
It's like you always say, it's not hierarchy. It's not hypocrisy. It's hierarchy.
Did you guys see the Snyder ruling from the Supreme Court? Did you guys read that one?
Which one was that?
That was the former mayor who received an illegal gratuity and was criminally charged.
Yeah,
I read about this.
Get into that one.
All right, so let me. I'll tell you what. This is why I can't stand MSNBC. Okay. So I get a message from a family member, and they're like, "Did you see this? The Supreme Court legalized bribery." And I was like,
"I'm going already."
I'm immediately thinking, okay, well, it's probably not true, but but let's hear.
Come on, we all know that Tim Pool's bribing the people of Martinsburg to get his skate parks and steal from the good skaters.
That is not confirmed. So anyway, so I'm having this conversation where it's like, yeah, this guy basically gives a contract to a truck company, and then a couple years later he needs money, so he goes and they pay him off. And then he gets charged for it because it's basically a kickback. But the Supreme Court said it was a gratuity. He got a tip. So it's allowed. And so, I end up pulling up the Supreme Court ruling. And of course, it says literally the opposite. Well, then this weekend I was hanging out at Charlestown Races playing some poker. And I mean, no disrespect to these people, my family member or this next guy.
Here it comes, folks. He's going to admit it.
Which one?
Tim's going to admit everything. He's going to spill the beans.
Oh,
Keep
right.
going,
Well,
Tim. Please continue.
So there's a guy sitting next to me. And as he wins a poker hand, he says, I'm going to need this money the next time I get pulled over because the Supreme Court just legalized bribery. And I'm like, did MSNBC put this narrative out by taking... Here's the real story. Gratuities are illegal if the intention is set before an official act to influence the official act. Bribery is illegal if something of value is given before an official act. There are quite literally two different laws in the books, and most people don't know that gratuity is a law in the books. If someone goes to a public official and says, I'm going to give you X in exchange for this ruling, a bribe. If someone goes to them and says, you rule in my favor and I'll give you X, a gratuity, they're both illegal. The gist of the case, as I read it, was they charged a guy for gratuity using a bribery statute. And the Supreme Court was like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. If you do that, you're going to give someone the opportunity for a defense in that this was a gratuity, not a bribe, and the bribery charge gets thrown out. They were basically saying, make sure when you charge people for illegal gratuity, it is the right law and statute. Otherwise, they'll raise a defense because the payment came afterwards and you charge with the wrong law. That gets turned into the Supreme Court legalizes bribery because MSNBC and the likes of these liberal outlets are trying to trick you into thinking the court is bad or evil or wrong. And that's what AOC is using as a predicate for, we have to impeach them. They're all corrupt.
And this is what I always say when people get into arguments or like Twitter back and forths or Facebook arguments, Facebook debates with people is at some point you have to realize that you're just arguing with whatever the last thing they heard on TV was. Or in Sotomayor's case, whatever the last thing she heard on like a feminist podcast was.
Right.
That's who you're arguing with. You're not arguing with someone who's actually taking the time, like Tim just did, to open up the case and read it out or even get like basic bullet points to figure this out. Because and here's the dirty little secret is that you have people walking around every day and voting with this fried mental model who have been propagandized through chronic propaganda and occasionally acute propaganda their entire lives.
One of the reasons why it sticks, and it's so, because if you question them, it's like you're attacking them personally. It's their personal identity. If you, like, really? If you just question just a little bit, offer a couple of facts. It's like
it's deeply threatening to them.
Yeah, I like that, by the way. That test you just did. That what's it called? The Scott Anderson. Really? So Tim, this is the test. You just add that when someone says something crazy, the Supreme Court just legalized bribery. All you have to do is start back and say, really? Mm-hmm. Did they really do that?
Did you think when you spoke just now?
Yeah. That sounds a little far fetched.
I will address, people in the chat saying Tim is a gambling problem because I was playing poker. Oh, bro, I am so up in poker. It's ridiculous. I'm going to be checking out the...
I don't have a gambling problem. I always win.
Gambling has a 10-pull problem.
That's true.
That's right.
But poker's not gambling. And that's why I always win. And I'll be checking out the World Series later.
I think one of the things is that criticism of the Supreme Court is about to get extremely acute, and it's about to be everywhere because this is the new way to get progressives to the polls, right? You guys hate Joe Biden.
Isn't enough anymore.
Abortion's not enough. Joe Biden is doing the wrong thing in Palestine, Israel, but you guys don't realize he could have the power to nominate new Supreme Court justices, and we cannot let Trump have that, right? It's sort of a testament to the grasping of straws nature of the Biden campaign at this point. They know their candidate's not particularly viable. They know that no one is really moved by the issues. They have been trying to say these will change the election. These are the big issues because, they said it was abortion, and actually it's the economy and immigration. So they need it to be hysteria about the court, and they're going to use this to capitalize on it. That's why Biden, speaking from the White House, was like, look, this could disrupt everything. I've got to go now. I'm going to stop speaking. It's the next phase of trying to keep the Democrats in power. And unfortunately, the court is going to be the target of that.
And all language is exaggerated. I pulled out a transcript of just a few of the words that Biden had said. And I noticed it in the caption, we notice what I like to call bad verbs, right? It's where you insert adverbs where they don't belong in order to amplify a false interpretation.
Credibly accused.
Yes. So with today's Supreme Court decision on presidential immunity, that fundamentally changed, referring to no one is above the law. So fundamentally, so in order to parse out manipulative messaging like this from the left, you just swap out the adverb for the word not, and then you get the version of, and you get the correct version of reality.
So what is it?
Or that or not. So he said fundamentally changed, virtually no limits, fundamentally new principle. So he says there are virtually no limits. There are not no limits.
That's correct.
If you simply take the adverb, and journalists do this all
credibly
the
accused,
time.
Not credibly accused.
Yes, or just even not
accused.
Not accused. Yeah, not accused.
At all. Now, one of the reasons why this sort of, let's say, it's not exactly low intelligence. It's like a low self-awareness type language. It's king. It's assault. This sort of language. I do a lot of hypnosis work with my clients, and in the manuscripts, I like to joke that a book is a long-form self-hypnosis script. And one of the things that you learn in hypnosis is that the subconscious mind that we all have that operates, that's where our beliefs, our identity, our values all live, ages up to about 5 years old and stops. If you have ever had a conversation with a 5-year-old, I have many, they are tactile little creatures, multisensory. How do things look, taste, feel? It's vivid language. And so when we are scrolling, when we're consuming, we put ourselves into a trance-like state. We effectively become like 5-year-olds. And so the most effective persuaders are speaking to 5-year-olds. Like, become like a king. A 5-year-old can understand that. It's an assault. 5-year-old can understand that. It's an attack, even if none of that stuff is true. Whereas, look at John Roberts' opinion. A 5-year-old can't understand that whatsoever.
Right.
So what's happening?
It's a mistake.
So what's happening is people will sometimes say, "Oh, the left is hypnotizing masses." That is literally that is happening. That is what is happening. The left is hypnotizing the masses, planting these words in there, these beliefs that they associate with their identity. So when you say, no, Trump didn't say that about the Charlottesville white nationalists, it's an affront to them. They recoil.
Well, it's like, did you see the thing Kamala Harris put out this morning saying Trump's going to take office and he's going to illegalize abortion across the whole country? And meanwhile, we all watched the debate on Thursday where he said absolutely that he was not going to do that.
And Elon blew her up over it.
Elon blew her up. We covered that today. And I was just like, you are just lying. This is just an actual complete lie.
They keep pushing the very fine people hoax.
Yes, and it's been
Snopes debunked it after 7 years.
Yes, that was crazy. And if you watch the tape, if you watch the briefing, and Trump actually gave briefings. He actually went down to the press briefing room and spoke to reporters. And Biden can't even take questions at all ever.
But his campaign has tripled down on
and Trump was
the whole
very
time
clear.
lying.
Right, and Trump was very clear. He always told you exactly what he was thinking. He would joke around with the press. I mean, he's still doing it.
From page 19 of Unhumans, feelings don't care about facts. The left understands that. The right does not. So
well, when Ben Shapiro had that tweet, "Facts don't care about your feelings," which got like 1 million retweets, I and many others immediately tweeted, "What you don't understand is that feelings don't care about your facts."
That's true.
And that, I believe, it's equally as true. The left operates on an inverse spectrum as to what the right is doing.
Because feelings are what drive action. They move action. Despite the fact that the left has effectively become a biological denial machine, a factory, they understand biology, at least the way that humans think and operate. And so if you can apply consumer psychology to political messaging, you can select, regardless of the facts, if you can just make an accusation, then if you can get your people to feel this way about a certain character, just repeat it over and over and over, and you associate that feeling with that person, then you think, you see Trump, and you immediately have innumerable bad feelings that are completely dissociated with facts.
And what we end up seeing from the debate is they say, oh, Biden may have had a cold, but Trump's a liar. And it's just like, look, dude, right.
It's not an equivocation.
But we all expect them to say what the lie is, because if I'm talking to, Libby or Joshua or Jack or Hannah Claire or Serge, and they say Biden was lying the whole time, I'd say, oh, what did he lie about? And he'd be like, he was talking about the very fine people hoax that Trump never did that. And I'd go, I'd say, oh, wow, yeah, that was a liar.
You're the sucker.
And what the left does is they say he was lying about everything. And if you ask, they'll be like, why are you defending Trump? Because they don't actually have an answer as to what Trump was lying about.
And this gets back to what Josh was saying, though, is that you're not arguing with the specific principle of he said a lie and there we are going to now have a debate about the lie. You are arguing with an identity. I identify as a truth teller. Trump is a liar. How dare you defend a liar? One who's also, by the way, a convicted felon, someone who's been held liable for rape, and an insurrectionist and everything else.
But like at this point, I said this about the Krasensteins because I think it was Brian. And for those that don't know who they are, they're liberal personalities on X. He posted this.
Those lovable scamps.
Yeah, he posted this thing where it's like Biden, like old and like has cold or whatever, and it's Trump, 94 convictions, blah blah. And I'm just like, dude, no one actually believes that you think these things. Like we're at the point where if you are actively watching the news, there is no reality by which you are going, oh, yeah, well, Joe Biden was great. Like, even Biden supporters are in panic mode saying he's got to go.
So this is the big threat that the debate night posed. And yes, the initial question was Biden's clearly unfit for office. Biden perhaps is unfit for office currently. Jill Biden is currently in charge. And Tim, you remember, I came on here years ago talking about how Jill was running the White House and how Kamala hated her and they kept giving Kamala these failed jobs and Jill was going to the G7. I came on and said this, like people were like, oh, Posobiec is what he was talking about. I said this in real time. But the secondary issue, and this is the real issue that the media was freaking out. They didn't care about Joe Biden. Oh, he pulled the wool over our eyes. No, they already knew. The problem is the normies just found out for the first time that the media has been lying to them every single day. And suddenly it's like, wait, we got to get these people back because They just saw the truth. Many of these people, because the debates get coverage in a way that both sides watch, in a way that both sides will never watch any other show. And so suddenly millions of people just were presented with the truth for the first time. And guess what, boys and girls? The truth showed that the right-wing crazy people and the cheap fakes were actually telling the truth. And that might get them to start asking uncomfortable questions about what else the media has been lying.
Yeah, well, the Democrats believe their own propaganda. So now we have this problem where the propaganda is not to convert right-wingers, it's to keep everybody in line. And when you're exposed to the reality that Joe Biden completely failed on the debate stage, you have to confront the reality that this truth that they have presented to you is falling apart around you.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to my dad the next morning, and we were both saying that it was, really sad to see the president look like that, to say, like, this is the person who is supposedly running the country. And my dad said something interesting. He's not super invested in politics, and he said, I didn't know Biden was that far gone. And I think that that's true. Like Jack was saying, I think that that's true for a lot of people who maybe the last time they saw Biden was the State of the Union address, perhaps. And that's the last time they paid attention. Nobody paid attention to his midday rally the next day, And so I think that that's really a big problem. And now there is a concern about if the Democrats are saying that Biden shouldn't run for re-election, then they should probably invoke the 25th now. Because if he's not fit for office, he's in November, he's not fit for office right now.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.